So, welcome to the Tidarium Hangar. This is Mike. I'm here to talk to you about a failed Hasbro Pulse Haslab campaign, and the Cookie Monster did not get backed. I gotta say that pretty much everybody, even looking at this, is not surprised. I mean, everybody pretty much that I've spoken with or has discussed in my comments that they didn't feel like this was going to make it. Now, I try not to make anything negative, talk negative about this project, because I know there's people out there that actually wanted it. And I want to say that it saddens me to see even one Haslab project not go through. It's bothers me on one level. I like the platform of Haslab to bring us items that they would never produce. Obviously, I would rather go to the store and get it on clearance like we've been doing with a lot of the other large items like this. But you cannot have a sustainable business platform if every time you make a big expensive item, you buy it on clearance. That's just not going to work. It only sells when it clearances out to a quarter of the price. That's why this exists. So it bothers me because they say they're going to look at this situation and they're going to say there's not a market here for these kinds of items. Now, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Cookie Monster. I'll talk a little bit more about the barge and the upcoming Unicron. But I got to say that this isn't all negative. This whole situation is not a bad thing, to tell you the truth. I am going to go on record. I still think Unicron is going to back. With about 5.5 days left, Unicron is going to back. It's going to... We'll get into that later. More details on that. But let's talk about the good that came out of Cookie Monster. So there's a few good things that came out of the Cookie Monster situation. And one of those is that we know Haslab will cancel the project if it doesn't get funded. Now, there's question that, well, what if Unicron gets to 6,800 and they wanted 8,000? Would they cancel it? I gotta tell you, 6,800 people that have ordered this would be upset, far more upset than what looks like 63 backers on this. I thought it had 665. We're going to talk about that on the next point. But we know that they will cancel the project. That's what people worry about. Well, they worried about it with the barge. And the barge shot up in the last 3 days and went through the backing number and just skyrocketed. And then they made, allegedly, an extra 1,200 on top of that. They made almost 10,000. It was 8810, and then they made almost 10,000. So that's a lot of barges that they made. So they took it upon themselves to go ahead and just make some more and open those up to international buyers. But it was on eBay and ridiculous shipping. So, but let's see what else is good with this. We've noticed a fluctuation in numbers here, because I checked it yesterday. I thought it said 600 or so, and now it says 63, and that bothered me, because if they just zero it out, right, it would say 0 backers. Or if they left a number like we actually hit this goal of 600 and we hit 665 and we're still short 2,000, like 335 or something like that, then leave that up there so we see how many backed it. But why is it at 63? That doesn't make sense. And even if they canceled, backers backed out, maybe 600 of these people just all canceled their order this morning due to the fact it wasn't backed. I don't know. That's crazy. Like, why is there some number manipulation going on here? So that's showing us that there's something going on. Now, I felt that way with the cell barge a bit, because it shot up so fast in bulk, just giant blocks of numbers just shooting through the roof. I know people weren't ordering 400 at a time. That was with some of the third-party sellers that were selling them overseas. That was where that came from. But yeah, the number of manipulation. The next thing is deciding what brands that we have that can support this. Now, of the portfolio brands, that Hasbro has way more than what's being represented here, by the way. This is with partners and stuff, but Hasbro has far more than this. But what brands do they have that could support a $300 item or a $600 item? And looking at that, maybe not that many. Oh, I see G.I. Joe on there now, down at the emerging brands. But not that many. And so it starts to make you think, and I'd like it in the comments, what do you think they could make that would actually get backed from another franchise other than Star Wars and Transformers? Because we know Star Wars did one, we know Transformers is going to do one, it's going to get backed. What other of these franchises, and what specifically item could they make that would get backed? Next, I want to talk about price points, because everyone's looking at Haslab projects as being $500 to $600 projects, and they don't have to be $500 to $600 projects. Like this was a $300 project and it didn't make it, but it was still too high for what it was. And everyone says Unicron costs too much or it's too expensive for what it is, but if you compare Unicron to some other items, and it's ounce for plastic, and it's kind of a rarity of an item that we just will not see, I think it's priced right. I don't think it's that bad. Everybody that complained about the barge being too expensive at $500, now people are paying $1,000 plus for it, plus shipping. So I don't think that that's an issue. And of course, we're going to be seeing some stuff for Unicron coming out, some other add-ons and stuff down the road. But it doesn't have to be $600. It could be a $300 item. It could be a $200 item. It could be $250, which I think $250 is what everyone said that they had to pay for their Matty Collector Voltron. So if the price of this was lower, say $150, do you think it would have been backed? That's an interesting question there. Like $150, would it get backed? And I'm still thinking no, it wouldn't have gotten backed at $150. But then they would have had to raise the target to $8,000 or $9,000 to offset the price. So the cost per unit would get lower by producing more. And I don't know the number. I don't know how, if you, let's say you cut the price in half to $150 or even $200, how many would the target have to be for it to be profitable enough for them to go into the venture? And you guys think it was a bad time? Was it bad timing? Like, should they have done this, let it back or not back, then do Unicron, or done this after Unicron, or what? Like, I don't see that many people backing Unicron and backing this at the same time. That's for sure. But who knows? So Unicron, I still feel is going to get backed. I think that it still has, what, a little over 5 days, 5.5 days to back. And we're not even half the goal yet. But we have 12 sites that are all going to place their orders at the same time. And I got to say that the wording that they use with the Tommy Mall and a couple of these other ones overseas, like, it is going to be an exclusive with them. As in, they're going to order so many and you can get it through them. So I don't know. Like, it's one of those things that I just feel like there's no chance of this thing getting Cookie Monstered. You know, that's my belief and my feeling. But it is gaining momentum. Like, for a while there, it was barely moving, 20 backers a day, and then over the weekend, and it's moving. It's going up. No, it's not going up 1,000 a day like it should, though. But we won't see that until the last few days. But it's gaining some momentum. And I do want to point out that Unicron already surpassed the goal of the Cookie Monster, like the 3,000 goal, and it's going to keep on going until it hits that 8. So yes, I still believe that the Haslab Unicron's getting back. But getting back to my last point on the Cookie Monster, did they pick the wrong character? Everyone talks about price, everybody talks about all this stuff, but did they pick the wrong character? Like, a friend of mine has life-size Sesame Street that were displays in the 80s, and he bought them. And the Cookie Monster was unsalvageable, and they didn't even let him buy it because it was in such bad shape. So he doesn't have a Cookie Monster that would be considered life-size or big like this. And he wasn't even interested in 300. And his point was they should have done something, a character that has a broader appeal, like an Elmo. And he listed out a handful that Elmo just stuck in my mind because, oh yeah, I know who Elmo is. I don't really pay that close attention to the Sesame Street characters that much anymore these days. But I do have to say that was pretty insightful. That the character, and when you go to collecting a lot of stuff, like with the Sail Barge, the Yak Face that was included. Yak Face is a very elusive figure. It was obscure, and if it was released with 20 million Yak Faces hit the market in the 80s, it would be a 10-cent figure right now. The fact that it's just extremely rare and obscure is what makes it very interesting and entices collectors. I don't even think this guy's obscure. I think he's middle of the road. I don't think he's the most popular, and I don't think he's the most obscure. Everyone knows who Cookie Monster is. But there's so many others that they could have done. Will they just abandon this whole group of collectors? So anyway, put down in the comments what you think the future of Haslab, a project that would go through that's not Star Wars or Transformers, that you think would make it, because I really want to hear that. I know a handful of people have thrown some comments like that out before, but I'd love to get a whole bunch more. Future of Haslab, and how many of y'all are getting this Unicron? Like, subscribe. Titanium Hanger out.